Hello friends, we are here outside KLCC. KLCC is a public radio station and we're gonna go learn all about what it means to be a public radio station and see how they broadcast all their shows and their music. So let's go on in, we're gonna meet the program director and explore the studio. Thanks for being here today. Okay, so we are here with Mr. Jason, and he is the program director at KLCC. He's going to give us a tour and tell us all about what happens in this place and how they get all their music and shows to be broadcast on the radio. So take it away.
All right, well, thank you very much for stopping by and coming in here. This is, of course, KLCC Radio. Very thrilled to have you here, and I hope you'll enjoy what you see here at this radio station.
All right, let's go tour.
Let's go check out the control room. Now, we call it the control room because you control everything from in here.
Oh my goodness, look at this.
So we have live on the air right now Angela Kellner, and she's actually just about ready to go on air with a break.
Good afternoon, I'm Angela Kellner. You're listening to All Things Considered on KLCC. Weather forecast in the South Willamette Valley tonight, clear and breezy with overnight lows in the 40s. On Wednesday, sunny skies, highs in the 70s. It's currently 70 in Eugene and Springfield. It's 73 in Corvallis at 3:22.
Oh, yeah, sure. That won't hurt anything.
Here is what you see. This is where Miss Angela was broadcasting room. So this is another broadcasting room that you can see from this broadcasting room. Mr. Jason, do you ever have like two of these broadcasting rooms in use at the same time?
Yes, 100%. Actually, as a matter of fact, you could tell that I'm wearing a mask, that we're still doing our best to physically distance and stay safe here at the radio station. And actually, it wouldn't be unusual at all if we had a host conducting an interview and a subject, being interviewed, that we would have one person in one studio and another person in the other studio. So yes, we use both studios, 3 studios, 4 studios, we find all sorts of creative ways to get people on the air.
Awesome. All right, so why don't you tell us about this contraption here? Because I don't think kids really use this anymore.
So these are CD players, compact discs. It's like if Spotify only played one album and you had to have special equipment in order to do it. A lot of our hosts, they have big music collections. We have a big music collection here at KLCC, so we still use CDs for our music programs.
Awesome.
And if you like CD players, check this out. So you see, we have this cabinet
Look at
right
this.
here.
You're gonna love this. Look at this.
This is a turntable. Do you all know what this is?
The turntable came before the CDs. This is what, well, I'm going to date myself here, but I grew up with these for sure.
You know the neat thing about vinyl is that it's the music is physically on the thing, so that when the needle is reading the vinyl, it's actually interpreting real sound waves. So it's this physical thing that comes out on speakers.
So is it possible to show what the record, the vinyl, would actually do? You have?
We could put one on. We
Could
should.
you show them how that works?
You want to go to the music library and
Yes,
check
you
it
guys.
out?
So before we leave here, so you'll see. I was thinking when I walked in here, woo, that's quite the music collection. These are all CDs. So these are the things. Can you open that for us? And just show them?
Absolutely.
Many of you, I'm sure, have seen these, but if you haven't, did I pull out one that doesn't have one? There we go.
Yeah, we got it. Look at this. So this is the business end. This is what the laser inside the CD player is going to look at, and this is the label right here. And we have it marked with KLCC. So
Right on.
if it ever gets out there, we know what it is.
And so that slips into this slot right there, and then it would read the music. So we're gonna go look at what plays on this in a moment. But I just wanted you to see all of these CDs because you're going to be in awe in a moment when we walk across the hall and see what else they have here.
So welcome to our music library. These are all big shelves.
Look at this.
Of CDs right here.
Oh my gosh. Look at that. This is just one of those shelves. Look at how many CDs are on one shelf and it's full. It's like a secret bookcase. You can walk in here and look around. That's a lot happening. And the back wall even has more CDs. So that's just one of those. And there's how many are here? Like 10? Look at them all.
Yes. Yes, and look at this one. Notice that this one is twice as wide as the other ones, and I think we know what's going to be the reason why.
Show him. Mr. Jason's really strong. He's moving 3 shelves at once.
So, this is some of that vinyl right here. So this is in contrast to.
Can you pull one out for us?
Yeah, let's have a look. Let's try to find one that looks kind of clean. This is well loved.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. Oh, this looks pretty good though. So look at how much bigger a piece of vinyl is than a CD, by the way. Let's look at the actual. Oh yeah, Slim Dusty. Australia is his name. So
look at how big that is.
You saw those shiny CDs. Again, this is in a digital format. It's analog, and again, there's.
You can see the little rings on it. So each of these, the big ring, right? That's the space in between the songs,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah, and so when you got to one end of a record, so this is just half of it. Then you'd flip it over, and then you would have to listen to the other side. It didn't happen automatically. You actually have to physically stop the record and flip it over to get the rest of your album. But now, isn't the sound from these like unbeatable? Supposedly?
Well, purists will absolutely say so. You're going to get different opinions depending on who you talk to. Yeah, we talk about analog versus digital. A CD is digital. Spotify is digital. Music on your phone is digital. That means it's the computer interpreting, the music. Again, with a piece of vinyl, this is a physical waveform that's imprinted on this disc, and the needle, you can think of it as a microphone. It's just picking up those. It's like a whisper. It's like the record is whispering, and that microphone is then making it this loud piece of music. So yeah, some people associate warmth with that analog sound, and they absolutely prefer it, and that's why you're likely to see any modern artist does a vinyl release if they put out an album.
Yeah. Awesome. So can we see how this works with that turntable?
Let's put it on. Yeah,
okay.
my skills are a little rusty, but I think we could get this spinned up.
Okay, let's go check it out. Okay, so now we're gonna see how this record.
Let's put it in action. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Mr. Slim Dusty here. So there's a little hole in the middle here that's going to correspond with this peg right here. So let's make sure we've got our record set down. Start it spinning. Now it's not going to play any music yet because we've not put the needle down on it yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this dust brush right here, and I'm just going to set it here and let it do.
So it cleans it off, because if you leave the dust on there, what'll happen?
Oh, it'll pick up the dust, and you'll hear pops and scratches and stuff.
Yeah, so that needle, there's a needle underneath this arm right here that reads the...
It reads the grooves in the record, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely it does, yeah.
So you don't want that needle to get dusty.
That's right. You want to try to keep it clean, yeah. So our record's spinning. Now our music hosts are total pros, and they're going to be way better at these needle drops than I am, but let's see if I can put this needle down and start this song up right at the beginning. Oh, not quite there.
There we go. God, there's a little pause at the beginning. Wait for it. It's worth it. There it is.
Voila, you got music.
There's the music. Okay, so it's spinning at a certain pace. Now, am I correct that you can alter the pace and you get like faster?
Oh yeah. You certainly could. You certainly could. In fact, let's put that to the test, huh? Oh, I don't think that's doing what I thought it
I
was
know.
going to do.
I thought it would too.
Well, if I changed it to 45, that would.
Right. All right. Well, that is so cool. Thank you for showing us
Yeah,
that.
of course.
Okay, so Mr. Jason's going to tell us about how do you run a show from here? What is all this stuff around you?
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are in the control room, and all these discrete channels or faders each point to a different piece of audio. So, for example, if we turn this on and up and spoke into this microphone right here, we'd be talking to people all over Western and Central Oregon. It's all just right here. So if we were doing a broadcast or if we were recording in here for later, the microphone is a very important component. This would be how the host would speak to everybody over the radio, so to speak. So this is one element of it. As you can see, we have mics around this table right here. If the host had guests, they would have their guests, sitting at these other microphones, and then you could have more than one person having a conversation about something. We have faders up right here. If we wanted to put this turntable on the air, we could absolutely do that. We could put a CD on the air. We have copy on this easel right here. This has information for us to give out to the listeners. We have a computer right here. Again, this is a way to look up information. We can get the weather forecast on it. We can have reporters send in scripts and stories so that we can have breaking news to go on with if that's something that we ever needed to do. And right here, this is our digital playback system or our automation system. This can actually run the radio station unattended while no one's here. Or while we're here, we can set up these buttons with different audio cuts that we need. Maybe they are sponsorship announcements, or maybe they're news stories or something like that. We can cue them up right here and have them ready to go as we do our broadcast.
That's awesome. All right, so what is the difference between what you're doing here in your public radio station versus what we might hear on KKNU country music station?
Yeah, absolutely. So public radio is its own distinctive thing, and public radio is actually defined by the Federal Communications Commission, which is a governing body that oversees all broadcast operations. They've designated public radio as a piece of non-commercial airwaves. So the first thing that defines us is we don't run commercials. By definition, we can't. We're simply not allowed to by the terms of our license. But that then allows us to run longer form programs because we don't have to stop for commercials. And we're also tasked with bringing alternative programs to the communities that we serve. So for a community like the ones that we serve in Oregon, it's going to mean things like local news, stories from people that you might not hear from in mainstream media, music that you might not hear on those commercial stations. We appreciate them very much, but they kind of play all the same music. You'll hear different kinds of music on a public radio station.
Awesome. Cool. Well, and then I'm wondering if you could explain too what the difference between what your radio station does between like a podcast.
Oh yeah, very glad to answer that. So the thing about radio is that it's live. So if there's breaking news, we can go on in a moment's notice and let people know what that news is. And therefore, radio is kind of always of the moment. It's always kind of about what's relevant right now. Podcasts are great, but they're not live by definition. So when there is breaking news, or if you want to know, what's happening with the weather in your neighborhood, radio is something that it's very good at giving you that information, while a podcast isn't. By contrast, podcasts are excellent. I'm not here to knock podcasts. They might have a more narrow focus on the things that they feature, and maybe if you're a fan of a TV show or a book series or something, you can find a podcast with people who are talking all about it. Whereas with our radio broadcast, we're trying to be as inclusive as possible and focus on topics that appeal to more people than a podcast might.
Right on. So if I'm listening to KLCC, I might hear a lot about something, and one of those things I might really be interested to, and I could go find a podcast that might tell me all about it in depth.
Absolutely. That'd be a great thing to do, too.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. This is fascinating. I know the kids are going to have tons of questions for you, so we'll end this and give them some time to investigate, ask their questions, and thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we got some questions happening here. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I loved seeing the behind the scenes. That was very fun. And let's see, let's start. It looks like Connor has a question. How about you go ahead and give it a start, Mr. Connor?
What station is this?
Hi, Connor. This is KLCC Radio. This is the public radio station in Eugene.
Can you tell them how they tune into it? Where would they find it on?
Oh yeah, 89.7 FM in Eugene. We also stream live at klcc.org. If you'd like to listen on your computer or your phone, we do that as well.
Okay.
My kids got all excited when they heard Angela's voice. They're like, "You got to see her? What does she look like?" That's always the mystery.
It's your boy in the raptor.
All right.
We get that a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try Alex. Alex, do you have a question? Okay, we'll try Levi.
Was this like live? Was that video not a video? Was that a video?
Yeah, so I went there a couple weeks ago because that's when I could do it, and I recorded that video for us to watch. Yeah. So I got.
Do you work there?
I do. That's where I work at. Yes, and we decided to do that tour there. Yeah, to show you what the radio station was like.
Oh, I don't think we heard you very well.
Do you work there?
Yeah, so do you speak on the radio? Can you tell them what you do if you ever do that?
Yeah, sure. So my job title is program director, which came across in the video. So I do a lot of different things. I oversee the overall sound of KLCC radio, and yes, certainly among my duties is to speak on the radio for sure, in a lot of different capacities. I read sponsorship messages. Sometimes I deliver news. Sometimes I go on live for fundraising. You know, I mentioned as a public radio station, we don't air commercials. So one of the things we do to make money, because it still very much takes money to run a radio station, one of the things that we do is go on air and ask listeners to make contributions toward it. So that's something that we do live on the air as well.
Cool, thank you. How about Mimi?
My mom works at KLCC, and I wanted to know what her job was, like what she did.
Your mom works at KLCC. Who's your mom?
Annie Cat.
Oh, Ani Katz, yes. Oh my goodness. So Ani is, she's a morning edition host. She is one of the first voices that you're going to hear during the day. And she comes on and is the local voice during morning edition. Morning edition is the most listened to radio program in the country. It originates from NPR in Washington, D.C., and goes to member stations all across the country, including us, KLCC in Eugene. And again, Ani is a local voice on there. She's doing local news, local weather. She's making sure that everything that needs to happen is happening when it does. Very, very much reliant on what she does, and she does a great job. I'm very, very glad to hear from you, Mimi. That's really awesome.
Thanks, Mimi.
Tell your mom I say hi.
Okay, I've got Logan.
How many like music discs do you have there?
Oh boy, I don't know if I could count that high. So many, and and we keep getting them too, because the record labels like to send them to us, because it's good for them when we play their music on the air. Thousands. I couldn't tell you how many thousands, but thousands. Yeah. We don't
And
hardly have
also,
we
where
can't
do
hardly
you get
shelve another
them?
one. Where do we get them? For the most part, labels and promoters just mail them to us. It's again, they do it because they want their music played on the radio. So
Awesome.
that's how we get them.
And let's see, how about Marley?
How much songs have you put on the radio?
How many songs have we put on the radio? Boy, you all are trying to get me to count how many things you haven't done. Let me kind of think about that aloud. So KLCC as a radio station has been around for over 50 years. Like I think it's 54 or 55 years. And it's not music 24 hours a day, but it's music a lot of the hours a day. Gosh, I couldn't even guess, but let's just say thousands and thousands again, and maybe even more than that. Maybe we're talking 7-digit figures actually,
Right.
when you look over that 50-year span. But so many songs. Yeah.
You guys are stumping him, asking tough questions. Okay, how about we do a couple more? How about Grant?
How would you play the introduction to a show like Morning Edition or All Things Considered?
How would you play the introduction to it? So there's a lot of different components that go toward a broadcast like Morning Edition or All Things Considered, and just using Morning Edition as an example. So like I said, the content from NPR originates in Washington, D.C. It comes to us by satellite. We have a live host and voices who's there locally to do the local components. That person is also playing pre-recorded cuts that are likely on our digital automation system. Those could be station promotions or sponsorship announcements, or cuts of news reports from our various reporters and things like that. So radio station, it's on 24/7, right? So shows do have a start time. We start Morning Edition at 4 a.m, and we're live and local about 5:45 every morning. It's just a matter of mixing all of those elements together. And I think it's worth sharing that you talk about introing a show, and there's a piece of terminology in NPR specifically, I think, that's called a billboard. And a billboard is a 1-minute section of audio that happens right at the very top of the hour, we call it. So if a program starts at 4 o'clock, right at 4 o'clock on the second, this billboard starts up. And for that minute, it's going to introduce the program and tell you what things are coming up on the program and things like that. And they're always exactly a minute long, because NPR supplies a newscast 24 hours a day that comes at exactly 1 minute after the hour. So that's how we'd start off a program like Morning Edition.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, let's try Lauren.
What's the podcast? They were talking about something.
What is a podcast? Well, it's kind of, I think of it kind of like a radio program that's available on demand and digitally. So it's on, on your smartphone or a computer or something like that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's do, how about Viola?
What's your favorite song?
What's my favorite song?
Yeah.
Boy, that's a tough one too, and that's going to change at any given time. So so I'm going to pick a song from a Portland band called the Decemberists, and there's a song called the Mariner's Revenge Song, and it's about 8.5 minutes long, and it's like this sea shanty that has this whole narrative about these two people who are sailing out at sea. They're shipwrecks, and they wake up and they find each other or inside the belly of the same whale.
Oh, awesome. What kind of genre of music is that?
Oh, I would call it like folk or indie rock or something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I like that question, Viola. Okay.
I do too. Thank you.
That was awesome. Well, you all, thank you for joining us, Mr. Jason. Would you all give Mr. Jason a virtual wave of thanks? That was so cool. I'm so glad we got to see behind the scenes that we can picture your face and Angela's face now when we hear your voices on the radio. That's fun. So thank you for giving us that inside scoop and for all your great questions, my friends. And Mr. Jason, you can feel free to hang out or leave. It's totally up to you. I'm going to move on to reading a book, but thanks for joining us again. Before I hit the book, you guys, I wanted to catch y'all before you left. We have a change in our schedule. If you ever do see the schedule of our field trips, we get to go and visit Autzen Stadium next week. So Autzen Stadium is the home of the Oregon Duck football team where they play football, and we get to go and visit there next week. I'm totally excited about that. And then the following week, we get to go on a super fun field trip to Deck Family Farms where we're going to meet little piglets and we're going to milk baby goats and milk the cow. Well, feed the baby goats, milk the goats and the cows. And it's going to be a really fun field trip. So more fun. And I think after that, we get to go to the Eugene airport. And then after that, we get to do a bee rescue. We rescue a beehive from the side of a barn. My husband is beekeeper, and it's pretty cool. So I hope you keep joining me. And our final field trip of the year, I thought it would be perfect for us to return to the Green Hill Humane Society, where we started this year, and visit the small animals. So we're going to see the bunnies, and I think they might have hedgehogs and things like that. So that's what's coming up with our field trips. And then today, to finish, I thought it would be perfect if we ended our day today with a book about music. And so I'm going to share this story called Little Melba and Her Big Trombone. And this is written by Catherine Russell Brown and illustrated by Frank Morrison. And this book has a special award on it. It won the the Coretta Scott King Award. And this goes to books that share about African American culture. And I think you're going to like this. This is a true story about a little girl who learned to play the trombone of all instruments at a very young age. And the trombone is a huge instrument. I used to play the trombone. And super fun instrument. It's the one with the slide, if you can see that right there. So let's dig into here and read about Melba. Spread the word. Little Melba Doretta Liston was something special. The year she was born was 1926. So that's like almost 100 years ago. The place was Kansas City, where you could reach out and feel the music. The avenues were lined with jazz clubs, street bands, and folks harmonizing on every corner. All the hot music makers made sure they had a gig in KC. From as far back as her memory would go, Melba loved the sounds of music. Blues, jazz, and gospel rhythms danced in her head. The plink of a guitar, the hum of a bass, the thrum of a drum, the ping pang of piano, the tremble of a sweet horn. I love all those words right there. Those are called onomatopoeias. Isn't that a fun word to say? An onomatopoeia is a word that basically is makes the sound of something. Notes stirred and rhythms bubbled all through Melba's home. She couldn't get enough. Music was always on her mind. She daydreamed about beats and lyrics. Music was on Melba's mind at night too, when she should have been fast asleep. Melba loved to hum along with the radio. Sometimes the music sounded so good, she cupped her ear to the majestic and closed her eyes. She especially loved Fat Swaller with his growly voice and booming piano. The player piano came alive when Melba's kinfolk stopped by, while Melba pedaled, her aunties danced around the room. So she's playing the piano over there. With all that music flying by, Melba wanted to create her own sounds. When she was 7 years old, she decided to sign up for music class at school. What instruments could I play? Melba wondered. At the traveling music store, Melba eyed a long, funny-looking horn. That one, she cried, it's beautiful. A trombone? Mama Lucille frowned. It's big, and you're a little girl. Please, Melba begged. Mama Lucille bought the shiny trombone on the spot. She couldn't say no to her only child. Melba beamed from ear to ear and squeezed her new friend. That night on the porch, Melba listened to Grandpa John play his guitar, and this time she had her own music maker. Grandpa John showed Melba how to cradle the horn. She tried to push out the slide, but her arm was too short. She had to tilt her head sideways and stretch out her right arm. Melba gave the horn a mighty blow. Honk, honk. It sounded bad, like a howling dog. I'm no good, Grandpa, Melba said, tearing up. If you can blow, you can play, Grandpa John said. Now stand up straight and blow steady. Melba stayed up real late and practiced until she could play a simple tune all by herself. Even with her keen ear teaching herself to play, the trombone was no piece of cake. But Melba kept blowing her horn, getting better day by day. The cool brass of the horn felt swell on her fingers. Before long, Melba and her horn were making magic. She was only 8 when the local radio station invited her to play a solo. Mama Lucille and Grandpa John were so proud as they watched little Melba play her big trombone. So she was invited on a radio station, the local radio station, which probably would have been like KLCC. Hard times hit rock bottom in 1937. That's when Melba and her mother moved to Los Angeles. The long train ride took them 5 states west and worlds away from Kansas City. Melba's new teachers discovered that she was smart as a whip. Her test scores were so high, the principal skipped her up from 6th grade to 8th grade. In high school, Melba joined Alma's Hightower famous after-school music club. Melba quickly became the star player in the club's band, the Melodic Dots. The other club members struggled to keep up with Melba. Jealous boys called her bad names. She tried not to care, but way down deep, the names hurt. Melba used her horn to turn all those hurt feelings into soulful music. Melba's talent kept growing. She began writing music too. Then in 1943, when she was 17, Melba was invited to tour the country with a new band led by trumpet player Gerald Wilson. "Go meet the world," Mama Lucille said, and hugged Melba goodbye. "You have been my blessing. You have my blessing." Melba could feel it in her bones. The jazz scene was calling her name. Traveling with the band was a thrill. Each city from Salt Lake to New York was an eye full of something new. Melba became a master musician. She composed and arranged music, spinning rhythms, harmonies, and melodies into gorgeous songs. And when Melba played the trombone, her bold notes and one-of-a-kind sound mesmerized the crowd. She's the only woman in that band. Still, Melba was lonely. She was the only, oh, well, there you go. She was the only woman in the band. Some of the men were cruel. Others acted as if she wasn't there. Melba let the music in her head keep her company. Rough times came when Melba traveled down south with singer Billie Holiday and her band. Some white folks didn't show good manners toward the folks with brown skin. Hotel rooms were hard to come by, and the band members often had to sleep on the bus. Restaurants didn't always want their business. In the clubs, audiences sometimes just sat and stared at the band or didn't show up at all. Discouraged, Melba almost walked away from her trombone for good. You see that sign says, "The best service for whites only." So she was living in a time of serious discrimination for colored people. But Melba's fans wouldn't let her quit. By the 1950s, all the cool jazz musicians wanted some Melba magic. Dizzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, Quincy Jones, and more. They wanted to be on the bandstand with Melba and her divine horn. They wanted to play Melba's music. Melba and her music trotted around the globe, dazzling audiences and making headlines in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. All her life, Melba kept composing and arranging music, kept making her trombone sing. Spread the word, Melba Doretta Liston was something special. And at the back of the book, like a lot of stories that are true do, they will give you lots more information about the person who the book is about. So you could read more about her story here. And then it also gives you all of her music releases, and then the sources where the author learned all that she did to tell this story. So this right here is called Little Melba and Her Big Trombone. Thanks to Charlemagne's Library for lending that to me. It was awesome to see you all here today. Thank you for joining me. And remember, next week we get to go to Austin Stadium where the football games, and there's concerts that get played there. So it'll be fun to explore that. And thank you so much for visiting, and I will see you all next week. Thank you.